Thank you. I mean, you're getting paid on top of that. Oh, that's smart. You put our road in front of their mic. Not bad.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just want to let everybody know that we will be starting the program at 12:30. We do have a little bit of delays with a lot of people coming to the event, so we will start the programming at 12:30. Thank you.
Just go say hi to.
Go ahead, go ahead. Let me go see. Let me go see. Hey, cool. Good to see you. Good to see you. Stay with me. There's David. All right.
Rob said not to worry about this mic. I think this is the house.
This is the house.
Yeah, we're just using this one for the feed.
Got
So
it.
we're just gonna kind of angle towards you guys.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, everybody, if everybody could please take their seats, we'll be starting the program shortly. Thank you.
Hey, how's the audio? How's the audio?
It sounds pretty good.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's like, I mean, I think the house is, you know,
It's a little.
It's like, I think it's theirs though. Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know
theirs
what the-
thing. But I just want to make sure.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
You can hear everybody. You can hear yourself though.
I can hear myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm good. All right. Everybody. right, sir. Thank you much. Sounds good. Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our CCIM Greater Los Angeles Chapter Installation Luncheon. Thank you, everybody. If everybody please take their seats, and we're going to start our programming. And first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for taking the time, I would say investing the commute to come to Beverly Hills during this post-COVID time. I understand that it took me a little bit of time to get used to traffic on the way here, so I know a lot of you, we want to appreciate each and every one of you for showing your support for the chapter and for those on the board. So again, thank you again for attending. So what we're going to do is we're going to first do some honorable mentions. We do have some dignitaries in the room. We actually have presidents from the Southern California chapter, who is actually our sister chapter here for Orange County and several other counties that we don't cover. We also have our regional vice president from the CCIM Institute also in attendance. And if you guys can please rise and we can acknowledge you. Please rise. We have our LED. Thank you very much. And also, too, for our presidents and past presidents, and for those of you who have been president of CCIM, Greater Los Angeles, and of our sister chapters, if you can also please rise, we would like to recognize you as well. And to our, also, again, in the spirit of our most recent holiday, Veterans Day, if we have any veterans in the room, if you can please stand, we would love to honor you as well. To our veterans, thank you for your service, and we sincerely appreciate all the good work you've done for our country. So, without further ado, I'll ask David Chen to come up to the stage. He will have a few announcements as well, and we will begin our program. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Francisco. So, we have this event every year, minus last year. And we have this for many reasons, so we can install people, but also we want to thank all of our sponsors, which are, everybody knows, they're the most important. So we want to thank Lending Bee, RPM Commercial, Mission Valley Bank, Advanced Group Property Inspection, CJM Real Estate Solutions, 3-to-1 Development, Fed Receiver, Asset Preservation Incorporated, Capital Direct Funding, and the Hyun Corporation for their sponsorship in 2021. And last but not least, CoStar, our platinum sponsor, all over there. Everybody knows CoStar. I think they got some really good deals going on right now, so you know where to find them. And for 2022, we're accepting new sponsors, but we already have some. So CoStar, once again, thank you again for being our platinum sponsor. We want to thank Sharp Line Commercial Partners. Is Barbara here? Barbara over there was Sharp Line, our gold sponsor. And want to thank CJM Associates again, Coldwell Banker, Kidder Matthews, Capital Direct Funding, Environmental Managers and Auditors, Loan Direct, Lending Bee again, Advanced Group Property Inspection again, Allen Watkins, Ex Novo, Cushman Wakefield, CSI Fulmer, and EXP Commercial. If you guys are interested in sponsoring and you are not on this list yet, feel free to talk to me, Jeff Albee, Francisco, any of us on the board. More than happy to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, David. We appreciate all of our sponsors. And for those of you who, again, who had gone through the pandemic and had really supported us during this time as we had converted our entire infrastructure, which I'll share additional later, to a digital format, our sponsors stood with us and we made our adjustments, and we were really grateful for the flexibility and commitment from all our sponsors in 2020. So thank you again. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask Steve Donnell if he can please come up to the stage. We are going to speak about our scholarship program and the Carmela Ma Endowment Scholarship recipients. Dr. Steve.
Hi, thank you. I'm Steve Donnell. I'm the scholarship chair. I'd like to welcome everybody here. This chapter is very special in that we have a fully funded endowment. The Carmela Ma Endowment Award is awarded each year to those that are working towards obtaining their CCIM PIN, and it does fund one full class. We have had some fantastic applicants in the past, and this year I think we had more applicants than in any recent year. In addition to the Carmela Ma Endowment Award, we also have had additional funding through an anonymous donor to our chapter, and those funds are going right back to some additional awards. And we also have Carmela Ma that has funded additional awards this year. The awards are designed, the merit awards are designed to acknowledge those that have worked very closely with our chapter. It's a way for us to pay back and also to assist those that are working to further their career in the commercial real estate field. And so at this time, I'd like to announce the various recipients of our awards. What we're going to do is just have the honorees stand at their chairs, remain standing. I think there's 5 awardees. We will honor them, and then at the conclusion of the event, they will come up at the very end of the event in the interest of time, and we'll get them their plaques. So the winner, and hopefully they're all here. If they're not here, then we'll handle that later. But the winner of the 2022 Carmela Ma Endowment Award is Matthew Goodman. Is Matthew here? Congratulations, Matthew. We also have the Carmela Ma Merit Award, which is awarded to Pauline Lamb. We have the Carmela Ma Merit Award going to Yvonne Yu. Congratulations. Another Merit Award winner goes to Jackie Winter. And last but not least, we have the Merit Award honoree, David Evans. So these are some of our current and future leaders. We congratulate all of you. Job well done, and on behalf of the chapter, thank you so very much.
Thank you, Steve, for delivering this announcement. And for those of you who don't know, we also have an additional endowment, the Sharon Carr's endowment as well, which was awarded earlier this year. So for those of you who are interested in learning more about our sponsorship, our scholarship program, please contact Steve, myself, or even our chapter administrator, DJ, for those of you who have people who are interested in learning more about the CCIM designation. I think a lot of people in this room know about it, but for those of you who don't know, the CCIM Institute is a globally recognized institute that provides education and also a network of commercial real estate professionals, and their designation program affords invaluable content for the careers of many across different industries, across different roles in the business. So from attorneys, to appraisers, to commercial real estate brokers, you have land use attorneys, again, various different folks in the industry. The CCIM designation affords them such a great tool for their career. And I highly encourage you, for those who don't know about the designation, please reach out to myself or anybody in the board, and we'd be happy to give you additional information. So with that being said, I believe lunch will be served here shortly in about a minute. For those of you who have been waiting for the prime rib, or excuse me, yes, I believe the prime rib, it'll be distributed here shortly. So I'm going to give our waiters some time to feed everybody, and then I will resume with the state of the chapter. Thank you everyone very much.
Okay. Give a couple minutes.
So excited to see you ever since you did your deal. It's almost a career kickoff. But are you working there? Yeah, where's your deal? I saw him earlier. I won't go talk to him because I'll make it. Congratulations. You used to do a deal.
Yes, I made it to the top 7 for our company globally. In my first year and second year. Yes, for commercial. I only do commercial. Yes, God. So, top 7 women. The whole, top 7 women. Thank you so much.
I'm glad you recognize me still.
Of course I do. I'm so happy to see you.
I'm sending you a link over. I'm going to try to do it. What's that mean? $6 million woman?
Nice to see you. I know how I know you now because...
From the Rubber Forum.
Yes, I was one of your panelists. Nice to... thank you for having me. Absolutely.
Yeah, so anyway.
So happy to see you. Yeah, true pleasure. True pleasure. All right, I look forward to seeing you soon. Can I get a fish como la 72 por ahí?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I hear a lot of plates moving and I hear a lot of people eating. So I hope the prime rib is delicious. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start with the state of the chapter while you guys are all eating to give you guys an update as to where we're at, what happened, kind of giving you guys a little bit of a narrative. So this is a little bit of storytelling while you guys are all eating. So to kind of give you guys a little bit of a narrative, the pandemic in March of 2020, I think we had John Jung, who is actually the founder of Brickworks. We had Lori Lustig from CBRE and a multifamily developer. And we had a conversation about having a development panel. And for those of you who had registered, we were going to have it in March of 2020. But during the pandemic, we had actually found ourselves with, is the country really going to shut down? And many of us have said, no, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And then it happened. So it was a very unfortunate. For those of you, for a lot of times we had some sponsors that kind of played with that really rolled the punches with us because we were still trying to figure out whether or not we were going to have the venue event or go online. So what had happened was that we actually had to come together with the Institute to be able to develop an online infrastructure to be able to not only send the traditional email, but also have a full system for registration and everything. And for those of you, I'm pretty sure many of you had already known about Zoom. So our chapter and our institute actually moved very swiftly to implement a Zoom solution, and we were able to have that event. So again, I'm going to give a little bit of a narrative to our programming and our thought process too, because these ideas stemmed out of the crisis of looking, how can we connect? How can we really re-engage our members to speak about relevant ideas and things that really matter to the people of our chapter? So for those of you to ponder these ideas today, as we need those ideas now more than ever, we'll go to the next slide. Actually, I have the slide right here. So, we started the year with a CI 101 class. For those of you who attended, it was a really great, well-attended course. March 102, again, we had foundations. This actually might be the wrong slide. Excuse me. Upcoming. It's okay, 2022. So, bear with me. So in January early of 2020, what we had done was a joint mixer with Crew LA. And for those of you who don't know, Danny Raffle with RPM Commercial sponsored that event. So thank you, Danny, for that. It was well attended, and we had hopes and plans with Crew LA to partner with other trade associations to do further events along the year. But we again pivoted and we had our lender panel. We had our GriffWorks webinar, and we also had our Alternatives to Paying Capital Gains event. So with that being said, we had over 500 registered participants throughout those events. And of those 500, we had a strong ratio of people who attended. And what that really shared with our chapter and with everybody that was on the board was that everything that we're experiencing with these events, our way of delivering content and our way of delivering our message is now more efficient than ever. And with many of you who are now still enjoying the benefits of COVID from the Zoom platform, the webinars, and I know there may be a webinar, too many webinars out there, but with CCI in Greater Los Angeles, we were able to really create a social environment which has led to our upcoming broker forum programs, where we're actually going to be hosting monthly, but could evolve to twice a month for our broker forums. So our broker forums is a platform for our CCIM members and also everyone in Southern California to share their listings, ideas, technologies. This is an evolving platform that we had discovered was needed in our chapter. And through these events and through the participation of our members, we were able to really come up with a solution and again fill the void that was there when we couldn't meet in person like this. So from that, I have other board members who are also joining, which we'll name a few once we acknowledge them, who are actually taking on initiatives to really expand our digital presence and also share additional updates when it comes to, I think a lot of you have heard of crypto and heard of all these digital tools that are coming out and that were inspired through the pandemic. I think for those of you who have Placer AI in retail, there's a lot of new technologies out there that are being shared and provided to our industry. And CCIM Greater Los Angeles wants to be a platform to educate and provide access to those tools through our partnerships. And if you guys have any relationships with, let's say, Placer or these other types of technology firms, we would welcome those partnerships and to see how we can share with our members. So for those of you who are connected with those folks. So fast forward to 2021, again, we had spoken about the getting back into the office. 2021 was a very interesting year because we actually held our first general meeting in August of this year, and that was the start of a new paradigm. We actually really realized that through our in-person events, for many of you who are attending here today, it's really great to see a lot of familiar faces. So the Zoom platform is going to be a supplement to all of our existing programs, which again, we'll be able to send you guys the details on that later. but kind of going back to what's happened up until now with the chapter, we are looking for new committee members. We have committees right now that I can share with you guys. I can share via email. If you guys are interested in learning more about our committees, we can definitely provide our chapter admin's contact information at the end of the event so that you can communicate your interest. Because we have, again, events. We have actually a special tour that's coming up at SoFi Stadium. For those of you who are interested, we have a flyer actually in the back. We also have Bonnie. We have the SoCal chapter here. Bonnie, here how's Bonnie over in the back, and Gary Martinez. They are actually the representatives of SoFi that have connected with SoFi Stadium. For those of you who are interested in that event, you guys are welcome to sign up. And we have a in-person SoFi Stadium tour for our members. So that is something that I wanted to bring up. But next up, I actually want to introduce Jeff Albee to come up here so he can actually introduce us to our keynote speakers. Thank you very much.
I'm introducing you.
Yes. So we should introduce you to David Hume first.
Okay.
Wow. Thank you for everybody attending. This is quite a crowd. I can see just from the past, this is a record. And I'm not surprised. I think, again, we all wanted to get out of the house and start getting back together. We got a couple of dynamic keynote speakers, and I'm really excited because one of the cornerstones of CCIM is creating opportunities for ourselves and our clients and the education process. We've got a couple of new classes this year in the institute that are being piloted through our chapter. Carmela J. Ma, she is, those of you that don't have the pleasure of knowing her already, she is the founder of our chapter and is the heartbeat of our chapter. So unfortunately she couldn't be here today. Her mother passed away and her and her sister Patsy could not attend. I know she's here in spirit. I know her mother is here in spirit. But with Patsy and with Carmela, we have developed some of the new classes, and we all know about the core classes. We all know there's the 101, the 102, 103, and 104, but the only thing that's permanent, as we know, is that everything is changing, and there's so much opportunity with what has happened. Adaptive reuse, I mean, that's the word, and we're going to talk about that, but we're going to also talk and look in the mirror and realize, wow, we're getting older, and we've got this wealth transfer. And how is that going to affect our industry? We've got the biggest wealth transfer that the United States has ever seen, and that's the baby boomers. They're done. If they're not done now, they're going to be done soon. And unfortunately, I fit within one of those baby boomers. I'm still having fun. I'm not ending, so you don't have to end if you don't want to. But our keynote speakers are going to speak to this. They're going to speak from an architect's point of view, and we're going to start off with David Hume, who is an architect and a CCIM. Now, I've had the great pleasure of spending great time with David lately, and so I'm going to introduce him first. I'm going to let him introduce the next keynote, Jeff Gould, who I know very well. He and I have worked together for years. So with that said, let me have you give a big round of applause to our architect friend and, most importantly, CCIM, David Hume.
Good afternoon. Speaking here?
I think so. It should work.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me?
Well, no, maybe not. You're going to have to use this. Okay.
Okay. And the mouse that will trigger the slides?
I have it here. Bear with me.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. I would never have imagined in 1 million years that I would ever be given the opportunity to be a keynote speaker for a Ccim installation luncheon. But it did occur about 4 months ago when I talked to Jeff Albee, the incoming president, about my background as an architect and why I made a deliberate transition by taking a class with Carmela Ma and learning the business of being a competent commercial real estate broker. There are very few architects that have made the transition that I have made, and Jeff Albee thought the story of how I made that transition under incredible difficulties and challenges was appropriate for me to share with you. So I am here not just because I did it as an individual. I am here because I did it in partnership with my family, and also very close friends and other people within the Ccim organization. Carmela Ma is number one in my book. Had I not taken the class with the Carmela Ma, I would not be here today. But she inspired me to become a student of the Ccim discipline. Today, I am a much better person than I was when I started the journey. Why? Because to be in the commercial brokerage industry, you need to have 5 qualities that without, you will not succeed in the industry. The first quality that became paramount for me to learn to be a competent commercial broker was, number 1, courage. You have to have incredible depth of courage to face the obstacles you face. Number 2, you have to have incredible character of integrity to represent your clients in the responsibilities that you undertake. Number 3, you have to have incredible commitment from the time you start to the time you close an escrow to do the job competently with the assistance of your lawyers and accountants and all the other advisors. Number 4, you have to have incredible capital management skills to protect your client's capital and investment at all costs. No ifs, ands, or buts to protect your client. And number 5, without this last ingredient, if you don't have a caring attitude and you care for your fellow CCIMs, you care for your city, your community, and your country, you should not be in the business. The real estate commercial industry is the backbone of America, and we're proud to represent it, and we're proud to carry the torch forward. And how I got to the point where I got my pin is the story I'm going to unfold very shortly. I have a time limit of 21 minutes, so someone is going to raise their finger and tell me when I get close to 21 minutes. But I'm going to take 1 minute to introduce some people that helped me get to where I'm at. And I want to introduce my lawyer from Loeb & Loeb. Will you please stand up? Alan Huff, a renowned real estate lawyer. I want to introduce Carol Tam, who showed a friendly attitude and welcomed me to be CCIM. I want to introduce from the famous financing firm of George Smith Partners. I was an assistant to George Smith, and he trained me. And today, part of his team, Gilda Rivera, Senior Vice President, is here. Gilda, stand up. The next person I want to honor and give recognition to is my J.W. Levine Team 5 member from Tucson, Arizona, Craig Finfrock. And in the far back, the president of HPT Realty from Westminster, California, would you please stand up? Mindy Long. She got her CCIM pin, and I mentored her for the last 2 years on the discipline it takes to get that pin. Now I'm going to go into what my remaining 14 minutes or whatever time I have. I joined the firm.
David, you have to use this, yeah. Use this and let me know when to.
Okay. I joined the firm of Coldwell Banker George Realty on March 1st, 2011, 10 years ago. For 2 years, I am honest to say that I was not successful in selling or listing one piece of real estate. And with 3 college degrees and with a lot of attitude, I thought I would make it. And I said, David, your attitude is pathetic. You haven't been able to succeed in 2 years. And young ladies from China are selling 1, 3, 5, 7, 10 million in residential real estate and succeeding. And so I said to myself, well, if you can't sell any real estate, what kind of an attitude do you have to have? And I said, I don't really know, but I think I'm going to go to my DVD library and pull out a movie that I was very impressed with. That movie was called Gladiator. I pulled that movie out, I watched it, and I watched Maximus, also known as Russell Crowe, go into the field of battle on the floor of the Roman Colosseum. So I said, that's it. I'm going to adopt the name Maximus. And I went to work every day, not as a real estate broker, but as an ordinary Roman gladiator, willing to fight to the death for his client. And my goal was to just survive and live one more day. With that kind of an attitude, there was no time for Mike Ferry's seminars in Las Vegas. There was no time for phone calls, fraternizing with your associates. It was all focused to live one more day. At the end of 2 years, I'm happy to tell you that David, the gladiator, was successful in battle. So I'm going to share with you how I did it. I created a skit that I'm sharing with you that you could use and adapt to your own ability. In the movie Gladiator, Maximus turns to the Roman generals before they launch their battle against the Germans or the Germanic tribes. And he turns to them and he says, strength and honor. So to your right and to your left, bump fist your fellow member at the table and say, strength and honor. You're on your way to be inducted into the CCIM Gladiator teams of Southern California. Hip, hip, hooray! When you enter into the year 2022, you're going to remember the words that were posted all over Rome, all over the Roman Empire, that said, Veni, Vini, Vinci. So this is going to be an unstoppable motivation for you. Veni means I saw. Vini means I came. And Vinci means I conquered. You will have the attitude of a Roman gladiator. All of you are now ordained to be Maximus generals. You will prevail in the field of battle, and you will take no prisoners. There's no compromise. So, the skit that I will share with you, which I'll have to get through really quickly. When I ran into adversity and I was being interviewed, the owner of the property would say, well, David, we're interviewing 3 other companies. You're one of 3 companies we're interviewing. Nothing seems to be anything outstanding about your qualifications. Why should we even consider you as a listing broker? And I said to them, Caesar. I have one quality that the other brokers might not have. Well, David, what is that quality? I happen to be a trained Roman gladiator, trained in Rome by Russell Crowe. And when we go into the field of battle, we practice the tradition of the Roman gladiators called the block, parry, thrust. Oh, David, what is the block, parry, thrust? so let me show you. With my shield, I block the blows from Big and Bad Realty out of downtown Los Angeles. With my long sword, I parry the blows from King Kong Realtors out of Beverly Hills, California. And with my short sword, we drive it into the gladiators from Genghis Khan Realty out of Newport Beach. And then I turn to my prospective client, I say, Cleopatra, who do you choose to represent you in the field of battle?
Of course.
So you made the right choice. But the man, and I talked to Caesar. So with that, as I go into the next portion, all of you have been translated and are now Roman gladiators and gladiatresses. You will not take a no for an answer in 2022.
So what you're going to do, you're just going to click it. Click.
Okay. How a California architect earned his Ccim pin?
Right.
Okay. The journey for David K. Hume started 100 years ago when my grandfather, who was part of the formation of the Republic of Korea in Shanghai, China in 1920, came to the United States as the first ambassador from the Provisional Government of Korea. That's my grandfather. He set an example for me. This is my father, architect developer of Japanese Village Plaza in Little Tokyo. I was his partner and I did the construction permanent financing. Why did this project succeed? Because it was a public-private enterprise where the redevelopment agency sold us 2.4 acres for $200,000 from an acquisition cost of $2.9 million. Number two, we hired Campbell Construction Company and we built the wood frame for $15 a square foot instead of building a concrete three-story infrastructure that the prior developers failed to meet the 50 cents per triple net rent. 89,000 square feet, okay? We had some of the biggest sales of $400 a square foot when we opened. This is me. I followed my father's footsteps. When I grew up in the profession, everyone said, "Oh, nice to meet you, David Jr." Today, I'm happy to announce that you can call me just David. I'm no longer Junior. I was Director of Design and Planning for Kapalua. I was hired by Colin Cameron to take over the 550-acre resort, and I brought on the Bay Hotel on budget in 9 months through the Planning Commission. The budget was $11.4 million. I brought it in at $11.7 with Hawaii Construction. I had deductive alternates and additive alternates, so we were right on budget. This is a redevelopment project in the city of LA called Vista Montoya. 3 acres. David Cunningham, the councilman for the district, said, "David, I need your help." The development team putting together this project has come up with 120 units. I want closer to 200. I came up with 180 units, type 5 wood frame on top of a concrete deck, semi-subterranean, half down into the ground, half up into the air. And it was an outstanding success, many awards. And then I took $8 million of Section 8 housing funds and I created what is called, for the City of Los Angeles Redevelopment Agency, a second mortgage shared appreciation, second mortgages. No interest, no payments, but 50% of the appreciation went back to the redevelopment agency when the buyer sold their home and moved to West Covina or wherever they moved to. It's won many, many awards. This is a letter of recommendation from my student, Frank Ganji of Ganji Development, and he told me that, I challenged all my students with a bet. If you learn from what I've taught you at USC Marshall School of Business, FBE 565, within 5 years, and increase your net worth by $1 million, I'll treat you to a Peking duck dinner. I had to pay that Peking duck dinner in February of 2020. When I walked into his office, he said, "Are you David Hume? Are you the gentleman that taught me FBE 565? I said, "Why, is it Frank?" He said, "Yes, it is. You owe me a duck dinner." So I challenge you, all of you, if you can increase your net worth by, let's raise it up to $5 million in 2022 in real estate, I will personally treat you to a Peking duck dinner with all the trimmings. Okay? That's a challenge. $5 million, you can do it. This is Japanese Village Plaza, which we put together. This is the fire tower. This is the mall with the design features. Wood frame, and it reminded everybody of a Japanese village. And when I talked to people, I said, why is this a success? David, we have visited Japan without having to buy a plane ticket. We haven't had to stay in a hotel overnight. We love this place. The 325-car post-tension concrete deck parking structure that provided free parking to all the visitors with only a validation required for an hour and a half. This is an aerial view of Japanese Village Plaza. Look at the density of Little Tokyo today. It raised the real estate tax increment phenomenally for the Redevelopment Agency and the City of LA. An aerial view of the parking structure and the infrastructure. A view of the mall. A view of the mall. An aerial view. The award from Secretary Moon Landrieu for Presidential Design Award. There is the award showing David K. Hume as principal architect. This is the partnership plaque next to the fire tower. And this is the one that I'm most proud of. David Hume is my dad. David Hume right there is me. It's in bronze. I'm a partner. That's what real estate is all about, passing on the bronze plaque from one generation to the next generation. The speaker who's going to follow me is going to talk about generational wealth management, passing on the assets you accumulate for yourself and your wife and your children, and training them and teaching them to pass it on to the next generation with elegance. In conclusion, what can we learn? Form follows function. Yes, by Frank Lloyd Wright and Louis Sullivan, but the real world of CCIM teaches form follows finance. This is what I did to win my pin, $32.6 million. These are the awards that I got, and this is me when I was a little younger. So it's an honor to make the presentation. I hope my speech will inspire all of you to greatness and to follow up on the challenge that I've laid out before you. Thank you again, and thank you for the privilege of being your speaker today.
Thank you, David, for your great speech. Now we're going to actually have our second speaker come up to the stage. Thank you very much. Come on in. And right here, what you have is a mouse. You can either click or scroll up and down.
So click is one, and then how do you go back?
You can roll up and down. You roll up.
Okay.
Let me show you. Yeah. And then you scroll up and down.
Okay. Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you, Francisco. Easy. David, amazing job. Big round of applause for David Hume. Great job. Incredible. You didn't talk anything about Maximus or Russell Crowe or anything when we were planning for this, but that was beautiful. I would have loved to have seen you with a coat of armor or something come up here and the actual sword. Next time, maybe we'll have to do a CCIM sword. But thank you all for having me. I'm Jeff Gould, principal and founder of Lineage Asset Advisors. It is an honor and privilege to be here today speaking with all of you. I was not expecting 170 people in this room, Jeff. This is a strange affair for all of us in the room, inside, with COVID, hopefully without COVID, but get the opportunity to speak with you. First and foremost, I want to thank Jeff Albee for his leadership, and just known him for, it's probably been about 19 years now, and it's been a real pleasure working with him and getting to know him, and he was an inspiration for my CCIM pin, so I want to thank Jeff for what he's doing for the chapter, what he's done in the past, and a lot of familiar faces as well in this crowd. Just like David, Carmela Marr was an incredible inspiration for me. So she certainly was the impetus for me to get my pin as well. She inspired me with person. So thanks to Carmela. I know she's not here with us, but she's here with us today in spirit. So let's see. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about successful multi-generational real estate families. And just to give you a little background on myself, I, again, am principal and founder of Lineage Asset Advisors. We're a real estate advisory and asset management firm in Los Angeles. Been around for about 5-6 years. I started the company after leaving Colliers International and the large real estate services companies about 5 or 6 years ago, and it's been an interesting run to continue to build this world that I play in. Essentially, we play, again, in the advisory and the asset management space. I also got my CPM pin 2 years ago, so focus, again, not so much on property management, but more on asset management for these multi-generational real estate families. And also a big aspect of what we do is look at building modernization strategies, so sustainability, green buildings, how do these families evolve and create a vision for the future with their real estate portfolios. So certainly a big aspect of what we do. I'm an LA native, born and raised in Santa Monica, went to USC. I've tried to leave this city many times. It's always boomeranged me back, and I'm grateful for it. I have 2 young boys, and so if you see bags under my eyes and stains on my shirt, you'll know why. So just a little bit, kind of jumping into this. There we go. So has anyone seen the show Succession? Anyone? Wow, it's one of the best shows on TV here. It's amazing. So I don't know if anyone, for those of you who haven't seen the show, it's literally about a media mogul similar to the Murdoch family, who is his children are vying for control of the family business. And I don't want to say that all of my clients represent this portfolio of or profile of person or family, but it does get quite interesting with family dynamics and dealing with real estate families that have certain dynamics. And I consider every family has its own algorithm, every family has its own portfolio algorithm, every family has its own dynamic algorithm, and we work with both of those algorithms to try to create alignment. And this is a family that I don't think any real estate family should necessarily emulate in their lives. So it's a great show. I suggest everybody watch it if you haven't done so already. So, a couple of stats that I think are really critical to understand here is wealth transfer and real estate wealth transfer. It's not an easy business, and as Jeff mentioned earlier, we are legitimately in the midst of the greatest wealth transfer in the history of our country, and certainly probably our world from what we can track back to. So, the baby boomers and even before that, prior generations have created this immense wealth, and of course, all of you know what's happened with real estate values. And now we find ourselves in a position where 70% of families fail to pass wealth to the second generation. 90% of families fail to pass wealth to the third generation. And that's a pretty alarming stat when you think about it. And so when we're talking about the wealth that's been created and we're talking about the strategies to transition that wealth, those things have to go hand in hand. And real estate families and real estate assets are certainly represent a unique set of challenges that we have to work through. And that's what we help clients do. Now, we are not trained psychologists or therapists. But we do find ourselves in positions where we have to stay balanced with the families, and certainly not only stay balanced in how we appropriately advise them on the real estate portfolio, but also the family dynamics. And especially in the midst of some very reactive conversations, our goal is to stay even keel and respect each other's opinions in the matter. And that's sort of what we're going to talk about today is what are some strategies to establish that successful transition plan. So what are some issues that arise? I mean, these are very common issues, but certainly bring up with families. And I don't need to state all of them, but from the standpoint of what comes up in my world, life transitions, family-owned businesses and transitions. Many of the clients that we end up working with are operating companies. They operate businesses in the industrial space or the office space or the retail space, and they find themselves having owned and operated the underlying real estate as well. And the business is transitioning, but now they're trying to figure out what the family business is. Some of the others are control, conflict and control. Diverging generational interests. Many, just like the show Succession, not all the beneficiaries are in alignment about what's going to happen with the real estate portfolio moving into the future. And not all of them have the necessary or requisite skill sets to accomplish the transition effectively or manage the portfolio. Many of us in the real estate space understand that deferred maintenance and or development comes up quite a bit with these families. We have very low basis assets that have been owned and operated for, in some cases 100 years, in other cases, 25 to 100 years. How does the deferred maintenance and capital improvement strategy come into play with these families, and how does it sometimes implode the family dynamic and decision making? We have to think about that. Portfolio variability. And a couple of other things that I think are important to keep in mind is things like estate planning and estate implications. I know we have some folks in here that deal a lot in the estate planning world. I find that a lot of these families end up making reactive decisions because they didn't do the appropriate planning in the future, and that's certainly a key aspect or a foundational piece of doing the planning with these families. And financial planning, of course. How does your real estate portfolio align with your financial or wealth plan and the liquid assets that the family has? So these are some issues that arise. And today, David set it up really nicely, but talking about his family dynamics and the past, present, and future discussion. I named the company Lineage because that's really what we focus on. We focus on the lineage from past, present to future, and what is the throughway. And if we avoid the discussion about the past and we don't plan in the present, and we don't have a vision for the future, then that's when the wealth transfer breaks down. And so I think, a key aspect to our work is to acknowledge the past history of the family, not to shun it or turn it away. Like David, the past history of his family is incredibly important to him, and it's driven his goals in life. The present, where are we at today and what do we need to plan for? And then the future, and I think this is another reason why wealth transfer breaks down amongst the real estate families, is because many of these families, it's hard for them to break the dynamics of the past and envision what the portfolio looks like in the future, or will look like in the future. We, as Jeff mentioned, we're heading into an incredibly divergent time in the real estate space where technology is taking hold, where multi-generational real estate families are still doing things the same way that they've been doing things for 30 to 40 years in some cases, and where that strategy is not necessarily going to lead to an effective transfer down the line. And so it's going to require these families to have a really clear vision for the future. So, the past, and this is a quote that I think I'd like to have everybody. Let me see if I can take this up. Perfect. People without the knowledge of their past history, origin, culture is like a tree without roots. So, many of the families that I end up working with don't really acknowledge the past. In fact, they sometimes shun the past or don't see it for what it is. And I think a key aspect of the work that we do is really to acknowledge the family history. A lot of it is really not only the past generations, but also the future generations communicating what is our core identity? How are we connected? What can we have compassion for the trials and tribulations that we've overcome in the past, and can we work through those to get to a future vision of what the portfolio needs to be? And then I think most importantly with these families, especially multi-gen real estate families, Resilience is a key aspect of this. Having resilience, really being able to work through those hard conversations with family members and get through to an outcome that everybody feels aligned with. Selflessness. We talk a lot about selflessness. Many family members, as you maybe some in your family, maybe it's us. We have to look at ourselves and say, are we being selfless in this conversation, or is it all about us? And so these are key aspects of the family history component. And then looking at that, and then also mirroring that up with the property history. What is the family ownership history of our real estate assets? How has that evolved over time? How have these assets been transitioned? I think it's really important to understand how they've transitioned. Was it through the estate? Was it through probate? What happened? What issues arose in the transition? How can we learn from that? And then one key aspect that we try to focus on is the legacy properties. These are assets that have been in the family for many years, that are highly symbolic, that are highly charged and have a lot of meaning within the family dynamic. We end up working on a lot of these types of properties and really acknowledging what the value is to past family members and how that translates to future family members. So if you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. If you're at peace, you're living in the present. So it's a 3-phase process of planning in our world. It's really understanding and discovering the real estate portfolio for what it is. A key aspect of of why I got my CCIM pin is really to do this deep dive portfolio assessment, to really understand the portfolio at the deepest level, do the due diligence on the portfolio, understand the operating protocol, understand the infrastructure and how the family's operating. What are the inefficiencies in the operations? What are the financial returns? What's our return on equity? What's our internal rate of return? All of the CCIM education comes into play with the portfolio assessment. Another key aspect is going through and understanding who the stakeholders are at the table. So interviewing each of the stakeholders and really understanding who they are, what their goals are, what their desires are, what their fears are, and how that relates to the real estate portfolio. Then the second phase is developing a shared asset plan that is in alignment with the family dynamics. That shared asset plan can be on an individual asset basis and a portfolio basis. And then, of course, the third phase is the implementation strategy. So now that we have a shared asset plan with the individual properties, now we go ahead and implement the plan. So that could be a disposition, that could be development, that could be joint venture, it could be things like adaptive reuse. It could be like breaking the entire operating or infrastructure of the portfolio and actually rebuilding it from the ground up for these families, which may be highly relevant for what they're looking to accomplish. So, that's really the phasing of the present planning that we are doing with these families. And so now we move on to the future, which I think is a critical aspect of what CCIM and the education piece is looking to accomplish. So vision is the art of seeing what is invisible to others. And what is invisible to the family? Many of these families that I work with have blind spots. They've been operating their portfolio for 50 to 70 years and don't realize that the market is changing under their feet. Things are changing, the real estate dynamics are changing, and now is the time to really start to set the course for vision. But breaking the past, operating system and actually evolving into a portfolio vision that makes sense is hard. It's hard work. It requires some difficult conversations. And here are the key kind of formula or the key formula and foci that I think are important with the vision. Leadership and adaptability. Who are the beneficiaries that are going to take over, and are they capable of taking over the portfolio? I think it's important that not all beneficiaries need to be involved in the portfolio or in the real estate business right away. But how do we bring them together to communicate with them what our expectations are and get them involved at least in a small way? Portfolio makeup. Many of my clients end up owning, office assets or individual assets like office or multifamily or retail in certain submarkets. Is that the appropriate portfolio makeup for the future? Is that going to be what our family is looking to accomplish, or do we need to evolve that thinking? Modernization, innovation, resiliency. This is a key element that I know CCIM is focusing on and we focus on as well with clients, is how do we look at adapting to the new normal in the real estate space? Technology, innovation, all the things that we've talked about in each different sector, property management, digital twin technology, cryptocurrency, and tokenization. There's so much happening in this space, but it's so hard to integrate that if you don't have a stepwise plan for integration on the modernization side. And then I know I've talked to a few people about this, and it sort of integrates into what we're talking about here, but the whole movement of environmental, social equity, and governance. Are we focusing on ESG? Are we focusing on green buildings? These are really critical pieces of the puzzle for many real estate owners to evolve their thinking, and creates a competitive advantage for tenants as well as financing sources in operating their portfolio. And then finally, philanthropy and giving, thinking about giving instead of receiving. Many of these families, we have to shift the focus of gratitude rather than just taking. And so that, again, the operating structure becomes really critical there to establish a foundation and start thinking about philanthropy and giving. So, in conclusion, here are a few. I'm not going to go into super detail on these ingredients, but we'll run through it. Here are the ingredients for a successful multi-gen real estate family. Rediscovery of your real estate portfolio. Where does our portfolio stand in the context of the entire market, in the context of where we're going into the future? A mindful real estate transition plan. So what does our transition plan look like? How are our beneficiaries going to operate and carry forward the real estate portfolio into the future, and how are we going to be good stewards to do that? Frequent communication and education. I cannot underestimate communication and education with the beneficiaries, and I think I know I've talked to Jeff about this, there's a key element of being able to maybe bring in next-gen real estate leaders and family office next-gen owners to start talking about how CCIM can help them evolve their thinking on the education side. Effective family board and governance structure, risk management, emergency packing, conflict resolution, maintaining control. I can't tell you how often I deal with families and patriarchs and matriarchs who are so focused on control that they lose sight of the real emphasis on creating a transition plan that's in alignment with the next generation. And in some cases, it requires us to really take off the blinders and stop thinking so much about control and start thinking more about things like communication and education, and how are we going to get our next generation involved and empower them to do so. Effective operating structures, that goes without saying. It's a lot of the work that we talk to clients about is, do we have the appropriate operating structures in place to effectively transition the portfolio into the next generation? A stakeholder map, and finally, good and effective estate tax planning and beyond. So these are key ingredients and the work that we do with clients that really helps us connect the dots. So a few things where people ask us, well, what types of families do you end up working with, and what are some examples of those families? A few of the companies that we've started working with recently, a second-generation aerospace company that's going through an M&A process, and they own some substantial real estate in an opportunity zone. So these are, again, these operating companies are not thinking from a real estate operational mindset. They're thinking rather from a operating company mindset, and now that they're going through an M&A, they're having to transition to more of a real estate mindset. This was a project that we just recently completed in Orange County, which was a second-generation family office adaptive reuse. So it was a conversion from a 10-story office tower to 148 multifamily units. And again, that's a project that I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of in the office space and the office sector, and especially with COVID impacting the tenancy and the vacancy and how we operate office buildings. And then the final one is a fourth-generation Hollywood family that is in transition. So this is a family, again, effectively has been able to transition over 4 generations, but now they're bifurcated into 2 factions, and they don't necessarily agree on what they're going to do with the real estate or how they're going to monetize it. And so they bring a trusted advisor in to really help them carry that forward. So ultimately, that's really the package of it. That's kind of the essence of what creates a successful multi-gen real estate family. And certainly appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all today, and I will be available for any questions. I guess we can do questions afterwards, or just come up and talk to me. Yep, great. Thank you all.
Wow.
how do I follow up against those two speakers? I don't. They really showed us the future. I'm going to look at my notes here because we're going to condense. We're running a little bit behind, as you can see. So I'm going to kind of condense on my little speech. First of all, I'm just going to talk to you about where are we going as a chapter, because we really, like Jeff said, I mean, we've got to go into the future now, and there's a lot of opportunity with all that's going on. And so I would just ask you all to go to the website, ccimla.com, and you're going to see our events, because we have some exciting events coming up. One of them is going to be the new infrastructure going in Los Angeles. We're going to have an event where we talk about that. As you all know, we're going to have the Olympics coming, and there's tremendous infrastructure projects going on. We've got... Okay, we're going to do that now. Do that first. Okay. All right, I'm getting the hook already. We'll go into this here in a second, but we're gonna go right to installing the new officers of the board.
Yes, real quick. All right, real quick.
Wait a minute, I want the mic.
Thank you, Jim. If the board members of CCM Greater Los Angeles could please make their way to the front, please. We will announce our new board members and also recognize our old board members at the same time. So for those of you who could please make your way to the front, I will be announcing your names here, and please hold your applause to the end. So I will be recognizing the 2020 and 2021 chapter officers, as we didn't have a installation for 2020 for the 2021 officers. We're going to be recognizing both parties for today. So for 2020, we had myself as president. As president, we had, for those of you who don't know, I am the current for the next minute current president for chapter for CCM Greater LA. We had Karen Chow for vice president. We had David Chen as past president and event chair. Secretary Linda Lee. Treasurer Wolf Basham. We had education chair Carmela Ma. RV regional vice president Sharon Cars. Sponsorship chair Jeff Albee. Membership chair, we also had Barbara Armendariz. You can make your way up as well for your award. We also have scholarship chair Steve Donnell. Designation promotion chair Patsy Ma. Event co-chair for Santa Barbara Rob Adams. And event co-chair for South Bay Danny Raffle. For 2021, I'll breeze through this very quickly. Myself for president for 2021, Sean Selenium, who wasn't able to make it today, as vice president, and Jeff Albee as the nominating committee chair. We have our secretary for as Linda Lee, our treasurer, our new treasurer, Danny Raffle for 2021, education chair Carmela Ma, and our regional vice president and past president, Sharon Cars. Scholarship chair, sponsorship chair was David Chen, and candidate guidance chair was Craig Lieberman and Steve Donnell as scholarship chair. We also had David Hume for designation promotion chair, and for legislative affairs we had Rob Adams and social media chair Matt Smith. So, and now we will be inducting our new 2022. We had a little bit of a mouthful. We have our 2022 board of directors here standing, and I'm actually just going to look to from the left to the right. We have our current president, incoming president, Jeff Albee. We have our sponsorship chair, scholarship chair, Mr. Steve Donnell. We have our vice president, Ms. Linda Lee. We have our sponsorship chair, Mr. David Chen. We have our continuing treasurer, Mr. Danny Raffle. And I think we have, I'm not sure, Mr. Gold.
Jeff Gould.
What is he with?
He's the events chair.
We have our event chair, Jeff Gould. Excuse me. And And again, I'm going to make this very quickly and a little impromptu, as I don't have the oath verbatim. But if you guys could please raise your right hand.
We have the oath right here, right? Do we have the oath printed?
I gave it to you.
Yeah, we got it.
There
All
you
right.
go.
Craig, you're going to administer the oath.
Mr. Craig, if you could please make your way to the front. Thank you.
Craig is our Region 2 Vice President
Yes, here we go.
from the Institute, checking up on us all.
Glad to see you all back together again. You have a fantastic chapter and a lot to be proud of here. Jeff Albury, you have been elected 2022 President of the Greater Los Angeles CCIM chapter. Through the election process, members have demonstrated their faith in your leadership and ability to carry out the duties of the highest office. They have recognized your loyalty and dedication to upholding the bylaws of the Greater Los Angeles CCIM chapter. Do you accept this responsibility and promise to fulfill, to the best of your ability, the duties of President? If so, answer, I do.
I do.
Vice President Linda Lee, you have been elected to Vice President of the Greater Los Angeles chapter and have chosen you for the high office, knowing you have the ability to fulfill the duties of the office, which includes assuming the duties of President in his absence. You will work closely with the President and individual members for the benefit of the Greater Los Angeles CCIM chapter. As a member of the Executive Board, you will be making decisions that affect the future of the Greater Los Angeles CCIM chapter that must be consistent with the bylaws, so your decisions will be in the best interest of all members. Do you accept the responsibility to promise to fulfill to the best of your abilities the duties of Vice President? If so,
I do.
There you go. (2022) Board: Francisco Williams, CCIM; Danny Raffles, CCIM; Carmela Ma, CCIM; Glenn Rover, CCIM; David Chin, CCIM; Jeff Gould, CCIM; Steve Donnell, CCIM; David Hume, CCIM; and Matt Smith, CCIM. Have all been elected to the 2022 Board of the Greater Los Angeles CCIM chapter as to give our full support to these new officers in every way to accomplish the purpose of the Greater Los Angeles CCIM chapter as outlined in our bylaws. Do you accept this responsibility and promise to fulfill to the best of your ability the duties of the board? If so, answer, I do. I do. Election to the position of leadership in any organization is an honor not to be taken lightly. Your fellow members, in electing you to your respective offices, have expressed their confidence and dedication in your ability. As chapter officers to the Greater Los Angeles CCIM chapter, you will represent to our fellow designees and candidates the highest standards of our worthy profession. Please accept my wholehearted congratulations to each of you. May your term of office be one of deep satisfaction and provide you with the knowledge of a job well done. Thank you for permitting me to be your installing official. It was an honor. Mr. President, welcome to your new office.
Thank you, Craig, and thank you, board members. You're going to take your seat, and Mr. Jeff Albee will now begin his session here.
Wow. All right. Next is short. I'm going to condense it here. So take a look at the website. You can see our upcoming events, but we're going to be talking about all the infrastructure that's coming in to Los Angeles. The big things, again, is the ports. I mean, look what they're going to be doing to the ports. I mean, we have tilted towards Asia, so that's huge. There's numerous educational classes which I pointed to, but the big ones talking about adaptive reuse and wealth transfer and the opportunities there. So we need new leaders. As you can see by the group that's standing up here, we need some youth. So I would challenge everybody here and to go back to the office and let's get people educated, let's get people involved in leadership. That's really what changed my career some time ago. It's been a while. So I love David's speech. I love Jeff Gould's speech. I went to 3 conferences within the last 4 weeks, and I saw so much technology and enthusiasm that's going to is revolutionizing our business. Jeff pointed it out, but what CoStar can do now is mind-blowing. What we can do with at our desktops is truly revolutionary. What I remember when I was young in this business, now it's here. So I would say, everybody start to embrace your computer. I didn't like my computer. I got a laptop now, Jeff. Surprise. I want to thank all the volunteers. We couldn't have this. I mean, there's a lot that went into this. Get involved. There's committees. We're going to do our first ever golf tournament and fundraiser for charity. It's going to be on June 13th in Calabasas at Calabasas Country Club. So if anybody golfs or just wants to come and network, look for that. Again, Carmela couldn't make it. Oh, I just know that she would love to be here right now. She is here in spirit. So I'm fortunate to be up here because of my family. David pointed out, Jeff pointed out this family. My son Travis, stand up. He's a broker, a really powerful, successful broker. Some of you met my youngest son Tyler. He's he's a software engineer in of all things, real estate business. So this is a family. We are a family, and I know a lot of you need to leave. We are running up to our schedule here, but we are going to take some pictures. So some of the recipients from the awards, of course the board, why don't you all come up? Thank you. If you have to leave, you have to leave. If not, hang out, watch the pictures. We're going to do some networking in the back. And I know we wish the bar was open, but they don't have a bar, so that's not open. So enjoy your coffee. Thank you.
Scholarship recipients, if you please can come up, we'll actually have your scholarship certificates here available. Board members, we also have your awards up here as well. If you guys can make your way back here as well, I'd be happy to have it. Yes, I'm going to have Danny up here announce the scholarship recipients.
Yeah, 1 minute. We have some scholarship recipients if they want to come up. David Evans, you're here. Jackie Winter. Yvonne Yu.
Should I say something real quick? Where are you located?
The whole group is here for you.
Matthew Godman.
Oh, okay.
You're here. David Evans.
Okay. Oh, wow.
I have a little something stuff there.
Yeah, I'm in Costa Mesa.
So we're next to Mike.
That's the reason.
Let me see. So we're doing the big EXP one. I don't know, did Peter Peck here? He's also a past president.
Next to Jeff.
One step to the right, Jim, you're on the board. I feel like I'm waiting for pictures with Judy.
Deny. I have to do this to Jason, Jeff. Do I have enough time to be on any more boards?
Slow down.
Because they're like, you're too busy. Don't burn out.
Well, you don't even have any time to watch UCLA basketball. Without
Nope.
I went out to the Final Four last year.
Oh, did you?
I was at that game.
Do a quick photo.